Pre-season prediction time. Let's see if I know anything about footy.
Looks for Lucky on the move. Got it! Don't you want to be him? He's got 9 and North have the win.
Welcome back to the Further North podcast, everybody. 1 week until games are on. It's exciting times, and that means season predictions. Myself and Joel are here to lock in all of our season predictions that you guys, the listeners, can hold us to and bully us after the season when we get them all wrong. So, Joel, welcome along. Are you excited to lock in some predictions and have the internet hold you accountable?
Oh, of course. There's nothing better than being held accountable to a 12-month-old quote.
Yeah.
No, I think it's always good, though, to also just check yourself a bit like at the end of the season and see how right or wrong you were about your choices at the time. So
how much we actually know about football and how much we don't.
Yeah, both of the above.
I forgot to point this out in our little chat before we started recording, but the shirt I've got on right now is a Liam Shields training top. I've got the connections, mate, and I've got my boss's husband is friends with Liam Shields, so I've got a hold of a Liam Shields training top. I feel like 4 premierships in this, mate. It's unbelievable. Was he there for the first? Probably just 3, but who knows?
Yeah, I think he he's definitely there for 3 of my thoughts. So. Okay,
well, look, I'll take 3 to be honest. I'll take 1.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take a final at the moment.
Yeah, I'll just take a win. That'd be nice. So, anyway, look, let's get straight into this, and we'll just go back and forward here. We're going to go through some questions we've got for the season in 2025. We're going to get to some players who are out of contract at the end of the year, some early tips, and then we're going to do our best our 23 for round 1, and then we're going to predict the ladder. So that's going to be very entertaining. So stay around for that. But we've got some burning questions for 2025, and the first one is, how many wins does North Melbourne get? I've voiced my opinion on this a little bit, but what's your win number that we have to get over for you to be happy?
Well, this has been very back and forth trying to think of this one for a while. I will say that I reckon we'll win more than 8, which is a decent call.
That's wild to me.
Yeah. I think there's good reasons. Like last year, I always said there was reasons that we weren't going to improve, which was we lost a lot of experience, we lost a lot of talent, and we had a backline that was, really, really makeshift. But now I think this year we've had the opposite situation. We've been a lot more settled. We don't have as much noise in the off-season outside of good news. Parker, Darling and Daniel all come into our best 22 immediately. Another year into some of these guys and hopefully a bit more gelling. And a unspoiled off-season, I think will be I think 8+ is very, very doable.
That's interesting. So 3 wins to 8 wins. I know it can happen with Hawthorn, but a lot of people come into the barbershop and say to me, look, you never know. Look what Hawthorn did. And I'm saying since 2000, name another team that's not Hawthorn that's jumped from bottom to something special or something very competitive that quickly. And I can't think of one. The D's took a long time. The Tigers took a long time. The Lions took a long time. The Carlton, all these teams, it takes time. The Hawks are, for some reason, the anomaly when it comes to all this sort of stuff. That'd be a gigantic jump for a young team, don't you think?
It'd be very, very impressive. And I think it's within our realms. There has been a lot of sides that have done something similar. Brisbane, obviously, is another go-to example. Collingwood went from second bottom to competing in the prelim.
But they were in the finals the year before though. That was a weird blip year for them. But they were a finals quality team. We're not a finals quality team, And I love your enthusiasm. I know I'm the negative guy. I get that, but see, I think 8 is the max. I went through the fixture and I reckon we've got 9 winnable games the whole year, barring us upsetting a bigger team. I reckon we've got 9 winnable ones. I don't think there's a chance in hell we win all 9 of them. So I'll put 6 to 8 wins. If we don't get 6, I'm not going to be happy. But if we get more than 8, I think that's through the ceiling of what this year could be personally.
Yeah, it would be a stellar year, definitely. I just think I think it's very taking into account the back half of the year, there's quite a few games where we didn't win it that we should have won. And a lot of that was just due to the lack of experience and I think the biggest thing that needs to really change from from last year to this year for us to be successful is mindset. I reckon we've got the talent there. I just reckon there's been so many games during the season last year where the opposition would get a roll on and you could see everyone is scared to do what they were doing that was getting him into that winning position. And they were worried about those kind of outcomes opposed to playing the game that they were or minor deviations to retain the lead or to, change the game tone, which is actually something in the practice game against West Coast that impressed me in that I think it was the second quarter where they had the wind. They got like 3 or 4 goal run. And most of the time when we've had sides do that to us, it results in an 8 goal run. But they actually stopped. They changed the style they were playing at that time to the chipping around. And that's something I haven't seen for a long time. So that gave me a bit of hope watching that.
Okay. Well, look, fair enough. I hope you're right and I hope I'm wrong, but
Same.
I've been hurt too many times, mate. I'm tempering my expectation. All right, hit me with another one. What's another prediction we got for this year?
Well, I mean, we could go into I reckon the BNF and who will be the top 3 in there. And if we can get, the BNF, who's going to win it and the top 3 with them.
All right. So, boring answers only here. I think Shees wins it. Like, LDU last year won it, but I just think LDU's more towards his peak than Shees is. And I don't know how high Shees' ceiling is because Shees' ceiling is the best player in the game. LDU's is incredibly good, but I don't know if I see LDU as could be a multi-time Brownlow medal winner, sorry. But Shees, I think his potential might be slightly higher. Now, I know what the internet's like. Don't assume I'm saying LDU sucks right now because I know what you guys are like. LDU is a phenomenal A+ grade player, but Sheasel has a slightly higher ceiling, I think. That puts me in Sheasel number 1. My top 3 would be Shees, LDU, and Colby McKercher. But shout out to Caleb Daniel because I wanted to put him 3rd, but I think Kurt could do it. If you want me to go reliable, I'll put Daniel maybe at 3, but I think if Kirch has the year I think he can have, I think he'll be top 3. I have got a top 5 here. I know you didn't ask this, but then I'll go Daniel 4, and I'm splitting it between Powell and Larkey for number 5.
It's a good call, I think, on those. I guess with mine, I'd be thinking not too dissimilar, except I reckon we've probably undervalued what X is going to achieve this year.
Yeah, true.
So I might go X for BNF. I reckon there's he had his first good year. He wasn't too far off it last year. It was a bit of a surprise it was a surprise for me that LDU won, but X still finished higher than Shees, which was a surprise.
Yeah.
So I'll say X to win his first one. I'll say Sheasel and LDU, let's say LDU first and Sheasel second, or second runner-up, and then I'd go Caleb Daniel and Powell.
Yeah. What about Nick Larkey?
Oh, he relies a lot more on the other guys, and I think he's going to have a similar year to this year in output, but he's going to be benefiting from Zerha getting more, Darling getting more, and Curtis getting more. So it'll be a bit more of a joint team effort, and I don't think we'll see like the 70-goal season that we saw last time, but that's not a problem if everyone else if he's part of a working unit, so to speak.
Yeah, that's fair. I did sort of forget about the helmet there, and I do apologise. One thing I will say, though, I think if Tristan Sherry is in our top 3, I have a feeling we might not have hit the heights that we want to this year. Do you think that's a fair statement, or am I being really, really harsh there? Like, if we've jumped up a lot, and he's a great ruckman, don't get me wrong. I think he robbed of all Australian last year. But I'm not more talking about he'll drop. I'm more talking about if we're going to take a leap this year, our best 3 players shouldn't be our ruckman. Does that make sense? Is that crazy?
I mean, I feel, it's the old, not like your neck's coming back. I've just got to put that out there. But no, I think you can have a really successful side with the top, 3 ruckmen.
Gawn, I guess, is the obvious one, and Goldstein back in the day.
Yeah, Gawn and Goldstein were, like Goldstein during those premiership runs, or not premiership, those final runs, he was very important into that list. I think X could do that, and I think he could still be a top 5 BNF player and us have 8+ wins. I think the ruck isn't as important as it used to be, but that being said, I think he could be top 5 if he or top 5 and still be very successful. I think he had a lot of that was a massive leap for him last year,
for sure.
And I think this year if he can start to pluck a couple of those big marks and occasionally kick maybe half a goal to a goal a game, it'll be a big difference for us with him. And I think that would be probably scoring him a top 5 finish or a top 3 finish again in the best and fairest.
Any players that you're not sure who's going to finish higher here? We've wrote a couple of notes down here. We've got some, some splits here on the BNF. Who are the two players you think are going to be really, really close?
Well, the ones that I was thinking that could be really close. I mean, you could argue. Who was I thinking? Probably Phillips versus like a Dersma, I guess, in that, the best and fairest. Like, I think they could be very close by the end. Trying to think now.
Cobb McKercher and Caleb Daniel, who do you reckon?
That one I would have to go. I'll go Daniel still. I just think the experience, and I think he's going to get like 30 or 25 plus disposals every game, move it really well off the back line, and be very important. Who would you have higher at the moment? You did sort of spoil a bit.
Yeah, but it's tough. I originally had Daniel in there, but I think Kirch's potential is higher. I don't know. I honestly think this will be so close. I think I can't split them. In the comments down below, who's going to get more BNF votes this year, Cobb McKercher or Caleb Daniel? I think it's a really interesting question. I know I said Kirch, but part of me wants to back Daniel as well. I'm so torn, man. Honestly, like I said in the last section there, I had Daniel 3, and then I said, but Kirch is I think he's gonna have an unbelievable year. So, look, I'll stick with Kirch, but if it's Daniel, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm happy for both.
Yeah, I'm a bit more like Kirch could be absolutely stellar. I just got Daniel. I'm fairly confident on just because of experience and what I think he's going to add. He has that good role, and he's so Kirch as well does, but so lethal by foot. I guess if Kirch moves that half-back line, it'll be very interesting.
All right, so next question, most improved. Which player do you reckon? You can take this question so many ways. I feel like obviously we're not going to be taking, first-year players or anything like that. It doesn't count, but give us some players' names. Give us your short list, and who have you gone with for most improved?
Short list, you could look at like a Hardiman would be a very good one to look at. I think there's a good chance you could see it from like a Finbar potentially. Like if they break in and become part of the best 22 consistently, then that's been a really good year for them. Like last year, I'd probably argue that was Archer was probably the one that came from outside the best 22 to be in the best 22. Who else would I be looking at sort of that? Constantio, I think if he had played 20-something odd games for us, even though he hasn't played for us previously, but if he played 15 to 20 games, I think that's been a very successful turnaround. Phillips, I think, is a real shot in that spot. He's going to get a great opportunity to start the season, and he's going to be in that midfield right in the centre at the first bounce. So I'd like to say him, and potentially with the top 10 best and fairest finish for him would be a really big outcome. How about for you? Who are you thinking in this space?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like everyone's got potential to be able to jump up because they're such a young side. I like your shout on Will Phillips. I think Will Phillips looks like he looks like a bastard. Do you know what I mean? He looks like a prick. And I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but it's just the haircut, the face he's got big muscles now. He just looks like a bit of an asshole. And I think that's a good thing going into the season. It makes me think he's focused and going to have a good year. As for me, I mean, easy answer, I think, is Paul Curtis. I feel like we're still waiting for that 40-goal breakout season. The other two I had on my short list was I put Archer again because I think there's levels for him to go to. I really think he could start being one of the better lockdown defenders in the league. And also, if he gets his hamstring right, Josh Goder, I think I would always put Goder in that. I think his potential is really, really high. The Goderman debate is one that we'll call it the Goderman debate because they're the two that are always in debate. Which one of them gets the first crack because we really feel like there's only one spot off half back, to fill. So, I would give Goder the shot personally. I don't know if I've seen enough of Hardiman, which I've said a few times. He has only played 3 AFL games, but I think both of them could do anything, to be honest, because I think their potentials are as high as each other. But, lesser shouts, I'll go Archer and Goder, but give me Paul Curtis as the soft answer because I still think that 40-goal-a-year season's in him, and we know how much X factor he's got. So if he can get to that level, it's going to be pretty scary because we know what he can produce.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on Goder. If all that man needs is just a healthy run at the game, if he gets if he can play, I don't know, like 10 to 15 games this year, coming off all those injuries, like that would be a absolutely stellar year. And I think he's got all the capability of being like that great mid-sized defender that can go up against slightly taller ones and still keep, pace with the smaller ones. And his kicking is so accurate. He's one that I'm just really hoping to get, some clean run at the ball and a clean game.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. I hope he plays, and let's get that hamstring right. If anyone's got a hamstring out there that want to donate, please send it.
Can take our hamstrings. I mean, we're not doing that much with them, I'm guessing.
I'm just sitting here talking about North Melbourne, aren't I? So I don't have my hamstrings to chat rubbish, to be fair.
Beautiful.
What about the best first year player in general?
Yeah, I think the obvious choice here is going to be Finn O'Sullivan. Mm-hmm. I think that's our obvious choice on it. That being said, I think it's worth a real shout for Matlock. If he is in our best 22 by the end of the season, I think that's going to be a stellar first year. I mean, Foss is, the pretty obvious choice. Though Urquhart could also, may I add, slip in and get some games. Probably writing off River Stevens as the best first year player. I think he needs a bit of time, but yeah. What are you thinking with this one?
Well, I took this question in a slightly different way. I also included the guys who haven't played a game for North Melbourne yet, but sort of like the Parker Darling Daniels, and I've put Jack Darling. I have been so impressed with him in the preseason, and maybe I'm just sort of trying to fight for the underdog here because he was really, really. I don't know what's the right thing to say. No one rated the signing at all. The media didn't like it. Some of the fans didn't like it. No one else in the round, the AFL, liked it. And I feel like I was always a bit of a believer. And on the Darling side, you can go back, check the tapes. And I don't know. Look, none of us are thinking he's going to kick 40 goals, but he's been one of our most impressive players. I think he's probably been Daniel's sort of doing what we thought he was going to do, but Darling is exceeding expectation. I mean, who would have thought that Luke Parker's probably the least impressive in the preseason? I know he's probably cruising and going to step up and be maybe the best out of those through the season, but Darling, I think, has been arguably the most impressive player through the preseason compared to expectations. So it's Jack Darling for me.
Ooh, who would you have as higher on the BNF at the end of the year, Darling or Finn O'Sullivan?
I think it has to be Finn O'Sullivan. I just feel like it's anyone around that midfield. I think they get extra votes that the forwards and defenders obviously won't get. So
you're going Finn,
but the Sean Atley Club Champ is the one that we really.
Oh, that's the actual award,
and that will be reflected differently. I will always give homage to the power forwards and the key position players in general. Do not get overlooked by myself. I'd much rather a key position than one of those silly midfielders. So, look, Sean Atley Club Champ is what matters, and he could be top 5 in that. Who knows?
Absolutely. Right.
Biggest, what's the next one? Biggest regression?
Regression. Yeah, who's going backwards? Or who's the biggest risk of going backwards? What you have on that one?
Oh, man. I feel mean. I feel bad. But it's probably Elmac, isn't it? Like, I don't want it to be. Want it to be. But you know what? Like, I've obviously been an Elmac believer. But the game against the Eagles in that moment where he needed to shepherd or go and take control with Finn O'Sullivan when the ball was spilling sort of off half back to the wing. And it just, I don't know, that almost was the moment for me where I was like, look, maybe I have been trying to pretend that he's still got more to offer than he does. And it's only one moment and I'm trying not to overreact by it, but I don't know. I think he's the biggest risk of finding his way out of the 22 and definitely to do with Goda, Hardeman, but Bergman or Fisher, Tucker, all those players who are basically vying for 1 or 2 spots. I don't like it at all, but I think it might be Elmac. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I do love Elmac. I absolutely love Elmac. I don't disagree with you. I think there's players that probably will offer more. Hopefully like a Gota in that situation, like down the track. But I do love Elmac. He's given his heart for the club, obviously. At the start of the year before I've seen all the preseason, I actually thought Tom Powell had such a great year last year that he was going to go backwards, but he's blown me away too much with his preseason. So I'm taking him well off that
I'll
list.
tell you what, mate, the internet would have been at your throat if you said anything bad about Tom Powell. I made a Tom Powell remark last week on the podcast saying that all I said was he lacks polish. I said he's a great player and I like him. And the people went ham, mate. I got messages, the comments were at me saying, why do you hate Tom Powell? I don't hate Tom Powell. All I said was, he lacks polish, which is true. But anyway, so look, the haters are going to come for you, Joel. I'm telling you what, you watch your back, mate. Don't say anything bad about Tom Powell. He's a favourite son for some reason.
No, I do love Tom Powell. I don't think it's him anymore. But
yes.
The other one I would suggest, I have a few at risk actually, really, in this spot.
Give me some names.
The obvious one for me would be, I think Caw's a risk at it. He's getting up in age a bit further.
Well.
I'm really hoping that we see. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we see a really good season from him, but potentially a good season for our reserves might mean, and if he starts a bit slow, he might be the one that potentially gets squeezed a little bit.
Plenty of key defensive options, double Dawson's, Matlock, Toby Pink.
Yeah. Yep. I'll go back to the one that I thought up until he had that good preseason game, which was Bull. I think Zerha, like for him, you're really wanting probably around that 15 to 20 disposal and 2 goals a game. That's what you'd be hoping for from him. And I'm not sure. Like, I'm hoping he achieves that easily, especially with him taking the third defender. But he's a watch for me as well this year. So I'll say Bull could be disappointing and regress a bit, or I guess the other choice would be Almac out of the best 22 by the end of the year, which is I think a bit of a softer call, but I think it's they're still in a risk for him. So hopefully we don't see either of them do that. Hopefully they both absolutely star and get better, but it'll be a good watch for the next bit.
Yeah. Bull's such an interesting call, especially after the 5-year deal. I mean, I feel like, and I think he would admit too, so much to prove, this season, but his preseason, apart from the intra club, hasn't been bad, but it hasn't maybe blown us away. So look, hopefully he's cruising until the season, but I don't think he's a player that can afford to do that personally. Yeah. So look, we'll see. What have you got for me next?
Where do you have Foss finishing in the Rising Star Award?
Ooh. I mean, I think he's got the potential to win it. I mean, pick number 1 or 2. Sorry, pick number 1 isn't. Is he going to play the season?
He'll play definitely. He'll just be out for the first bit later. Not Jager, who's there, but
yes, that's so unfortunate.
That's really unfortunate for him.
So bad for him. Look, I'll back him. I'll say he'll win it. I mean, there's been lots of impressive performers, but why wouldn't he win it compared to anybody else? I think he's playing round 1 and it's his spot to lose, I think, in the team. Lots of Richmond's players seem to have injuries. Their number 1 pick, a little bit of an injury concern. And is he going to maybe not stand out as much because it's such a bad team around him? Smiley's hamstring is weak. And, we know, we like the North fan Luke Trainer, but, is a defender, so probably not going to get the love in that way. I don't know. Sid Draper could have a good showing for Adelaide, and there are other players around there. I know the world's in love with Kako at the moment, but I'll back Foss. Hell yeah, why not? He's our boy, and he's got more reason than ever to win it. I don't see why he wouldn't be one of the favourites.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go in with you on this one. I actually don't hate your rationale or your thought pattern.
First time ever, mate. Usually I'm a bit of an idiot.
No, I'm convinced with you. I actually think he'd be actually worth a sneaky punt on if that was your methodology. But no, he's he's going to have a friendly position. He's going to get I reckon he'll come off the halfback and / half forward, play in the wing as well. Hard tackler. I think he'll around that 17 disposal mark per game, I reckon, and might sneak a couple of goals here and there. I'm going to go with you on this one. I'm following you, Josh.
Yep, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. I need someone to back up my opinions because no one usually doesn't. Who else would you have though? Like, do you think there's a reason for a different person more than Finn O'Sullivan?
Sid Draper's going to get a lot of minutes in the centre. Harvey Langford's probably not going to get the position he wants as much with Petrarca
Viney.
Yeah. But Xavier Lindsay also is a really, really good shout there in that position, a bit more outside. There's a few other options around, but yeah, I think, Jager Smith was probably my favourite up until then. So, but no, I actually don't mind Foss as the actual player. Trevally is also probably a good watch as well in that space.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but look, Foss was the player Carlton actually wanted, and they had to go for second best. So, I think whoever pulls on the Carlton Guernsey is going to get favoured in that. There's not a Harley Reid like there was last year, and Harley Reid wasn't even the best first year player personally. I think there was other better first year players, but I think this award's less about the actual best first year player and more about a hype machine or giving it to a bigger team. I think the fact Colby wasn't really mentioned, I think, shows that the award is biased or a little bit more narrative driven, because I think Colby was arguably the best, if not top 2 or 3 best first year players last year. Averaging 25, 26 touches for his first year is ridiculous. So anyway, who am I? I'm not on the panel, so who cares about my opinion? Who's going to play more games? Matlock or Dawson? And which Dawson, by the way? Kay Dawson or Will Dawson?
Will Dawson. Always Will Dawson.
It's easy for you, isn't it? You love your boy.
I love Will Dawson. I think he's a great talent. I'm going to say Matlock.
So you think Matlock gets first crack? They're both your boys, mate. You've claimed these two guys. So Matlock gets first crack or Dawson? Because Dawson should probably deserve it, right, being on the list for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think Dawson's been a bit injured and a bit slow, and I think Matlock, though... I know, I'm going to go Matlock. I've just got that feeling for Matlock. I think he's going to do similar. Like, Dawson surprised me by playing last year. Matlock, I don't know, there's just something about him. Like, yet again, engine is great. Marking's great. I think he can go forward. He seems to have played a few more games, obviously in the preseason. He's played a lot of games. He's played good sections of games with the A side at different times. He's those two are very close on the pecking order. It's going to be interesting to see who gets it. But I have Matlock. I just got a feeling about that one. Can't put my finger on it as much. But yeah, how about yourself? Who are you going on those two? You could add Kalen in if you like.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm still pissed off that Matlock's not a forward. So I think he'd probably get more game. I think he would probably play the most if he was being trained as a forward.
I agree.
I'm really surely we want to bring in, try Matlock up forward instead of bringing in my boy Teakle. Like you would hope so, but it's just not going to happen, is it? I just don't understand. Anyway, I actually think it'll be Callan Dawson, to be honest. I think Clarko likes experience and likes the more solidified article. I think he would go that way. I would hope the other guys might Matlock for me will be the best player out of these guys. I really like Will Dawson though.
I love Will Dawson.
I do too. I do too. But I would hope he gets a shot, but I want to see Will Dawson too. He's put on a lot of size. I'd like to see him in the one-on-one. I would hope it'd be either of those two, but I think Callan
might come over the top.
Yeah, Toby Pink probably plays over all of them, mate, to be fair. So, look, who knows, to be honest. Clarko's mindset baffles me sometimes, but I haven't won 4 premierships, so I guess I can't question him. But, give me Callan Dawson, but I would hope one of the other two would play over them. I don't know. That's just how I feel, I guess.
I guess then leading in from that, who is in our best 22 at the end of the year that doesn't start it this year? Who comes into it?
This is an interesting question. This took a little bit of thinking from me. So the names I wrote down are Goda. I mean, there's 2 easy ones with Wardlaw and Dersma who aren't in it right now, but Wardlaw is just injury, so we can scratch that, but you know what I mean. So Goda, Dersma, Dawson, and maybe Dylan Stevens. And I know people don't like the Dylan Stevens stuff, and I don't want to talk about Dylan Stevens every episode, but I just think he's got a skill set that if other players don't perform, he'll get a shot. I wouldn't be shocked if he's coming off our bench or our sub or something by the end of the year pretty consistently. I think Darcy Tucker will play over him from the start, even if I don't know if I agree with that. But, I think he's a shout if we want more of a smoky. But, Goda, Dersma, and maybe Will Dawson for me are the ones in there. And maybe that solidifies my opinion on I'll give Dawson more games than Whitlock. But they're the 3 I go with. And I don't put Hardiman in this because I think it's got to be Goda or Hardiman. I don't know if we can say both. I don't know where they both fit into this team. Fisher will get more opportunity than them. Daniel's going to play. They've got to wait until, McDonald drops off and potentially take his spot. Tucker and Stevens can play there. So, I don't know if you can put both of them in this list. But I'm going Goda because I'm higher on Goda than I am Hardiman. But, give me Goda, Dersma. I hope Dersma. God, I hope Dersma. Please have a good year, Dersma. And Will Dawson, and put an asterisk next to Dylan Stevens' name because people don't like it, but I could see him being there.
Here's your boy Dylan. So he's I mean, I think he's a good shout. Yeah, Goda, like for me is like, I mean, I think he would be in our best 22 now if not for injury. It's just it's so disappointing. I think, Durs, I would love to see break into that best 22 by the end of the year. If he was in our best 22 at the end of the year, I'd be very stoked. I don't think that's as easy a shout because I don't think he's there right now. Will Dawson I love, but I'll say Matlock I reckon is going to be in our best 22 by the end of the year.
You're high on Matlock over your boy Will.
Will's going to be a player. He's going to be an absolute player. But Matlock I think is going to come on a bit quicker. He just knows how to play a bit more, I think, at the moment. But I'll say Matlock will be my big call, I guess, for it. I think, and I honestly think Hardiman by the end of the year will be in our best 22 consistently.
Okay. Yep. That's just, I don't know.
I can see him and Hart. I can see him and Goda in the same side. The only thing I would think Goda would be more of the defensive one, and Hardiman would be the more. I mean, but Goda can do both. He can attack and he can defend.
If they're both in the side by round 22, what's gone wrong? And I'm not saying that as a negative on those players, but clearly,
Tucker's out.
Foss, McKercher, Tucker, Fisher, Elmac, all these guys, I would say probably get a chance before. And I'm not saying it's fair because I think Hardiman's potential is really high. But, does that suggest to you that something's not going right and we're throwing around different options because we can't find it? Like, do we want Foss to hold that spot? Because I don't know where else he plays.
Yeah, no, I could see. It's a good question. Like, I think it could be one of two things. It could either be that those guys have developed so well at that level that they're passing the guys that are there. Like, where I see Goda at skill-wise, he offers more than Elmac long-term.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Darcy Tucker, like if you have Darcy Tucker or Hardiman, like Tucker's obviously a more experienced, bigger engine, bigger body, plays in the contest more, but I could easily see by the end of the year Hardiman passing him on that list, and because he'll offer more, he'll be more accurate kick. He's not going to be as good necessarily one-on-one, but he'll be having a lot more speed and a lot more offensively he'll add. So those are the kind of like, and if those two move out and those two move in, I don't think that's necessarily a knock on the club. It could be at the time if the club's like going, okay, we've not succeeded now, so let's bring in some youth. But it could be a case, and I think it's more likely to be a case with those two, that their talent has surpassed the ones that are on the field, and you can't ignore their form at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what we hope. We hope it's not because we're not performing. We hope it's because they're kicking down the door too much and you can't say no. So, that'll be an interesting watch. Who kicks more goals this year? PC, Bull, or Jack Darling?
This is a very tough one. I mean, like I added Darling with thinking that, he's in there, but I mean, my immediate thought is between Curtis and Bull. Bull played less games and kicked nearly equal goals, but I'm going to go PC. I think he's going to really benefit again from the delivery. The ball's going to hit the ground a lot with Darling, and they're going to tackle and keep it in. There's going to be a big emphasis on, them adding. The question, I guess, as well with that one, and I'll ask you the same question, obviously, was Hansen Jr., how many goals will he kick?
5.
Ow.
I'm so sorry. I don't think he's a goal scorer, mate. I don't. I see him more playing half forward wing and being around there a little bit more. And I just don't think he's crafty enough in tight space to, do anything in front of goal. I just don't see him as a goal kicker. I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, he could play he's barely kicked any goals in his career anyway. He hasn't played many games, but I don't know. If he's kicking goals for us, we're either going to be top 8 or Curtis or Bull are doing nothing, or Simpkin, Parker down there. Like I would back those guys to kick more goals pretty easily over Robert Hansen Jr. Spoiler alert: when we do our 22, I've got him in my 22 for round 1, I think he impressed a lot in the preseason, but I still don't know if I believe he's going to be a player, is going to be on the list in 3 years' time. Do you know what I mean? So I like what I've seen from Robert Hansen, and he's showing improvement, almost like a goad the sort of level of improvement. Maybe not that severe, but you know what I mean? Like he's jumped up a lot in the last couple of years from being a guy where like he's never playing AFL to he can do things in the preseason sometimes. And I want him to do some things in the season sometimes. So I think he'll be better than last year. And he might play 10, 12 games or something like that. And he definitely gets first crack, but I just don't see him as a goal scorer, especially over the other 6 forwards. And then you put Sheasel and Powell and even Bailey Scott and McKercher running forward. There's not that many goals to go around.
No, that's true. That's true. I guess it would be like a successful season, I reckon, for RHJ would be, for little Bobby, it would be probably over a goal a game or on a goal a game would be a really good return for him, I think.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the best ones, though, may add, like Paul Curtis, you would be sort of hoping for that 2 to 3 goals per game.
Yeah, for sure. How many goals do you reckon he'll kick? Put a number on it.
Hanson Jr., 15.
15? Wow. Do you think he plays enough games to kick 15?
I think there's a good chance here, as it looks like we're moving. Like all the practice games we've had the 2 small forwards.
Yeah, but does he maintain the spot, though? Does he perform enough in the first 4 weeks of football to maintain that spot over an Eddie Ford or,
Eddie's,
like that?
Unfortunately, Eddie doesn't seem to be in the best group, but hopefully he can knock his way back in because I really love what he offers. I think there could be something. I'm being optimistic on him and saying 15, but I think 15's if I was him, that's exactly what I'd be targeting, to be playing more than half the games of the year and kicking 15 goals at least.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, well, I hope you're right, mate, once again, but me forever the pessimist, All right, next question. Does Chom finish in our best defensive line?
I will say no. I like Chom. I love Chom. My concern with him is obviously the one-on-one defending aspect for him. I think there's a good chance that Matlock or Will Dawson will pass him and do similar things to him, but probably be a bit better one-on-one. Though that being said, I also see Chom moving forward and kicking goals by the end of the season as well. But I don't think he's going to be in our best 22 in defense at the end of the year, which is a bit of a call. What are you thinking with this?
I think yes. I think barring Darling dropping off, I think Teakle will get a shot. I think it more depends on how the forward line operates more than the back line. Like, I'm not super convinced that Whitlock will play. I like his potential, but he's so skinny and I don't know. I do think honestly that both Dawson's and even Pink would get an opportunity before him. I'm not saying it's right, but I think that's what Clarko would do. I think Chom clearly has the size to be better one-on-one, and he's only played 1 year in defence. So I think barring a Darling drop-off and Teakle getting that shot and not stepping up, that's the only way I could see Chom having to go forward if Darling and Teakle aren't doing anything. They don't seem to want to put him up there, to be honest. I mean, people say, he swung forward last year, what, 1 game? Or one quarter really? There was 23 other games of him playing in defence, and he's played defence all preseason. So just because he can go forward or has done it once or twice doesn't mean he will. So yeah, I think they're going to make sure he works out as a defender. And if Core and Logue are doing their job, I don't think it matters his one-on-one being poor, because I think he's going to be that intercepting player. And I'd like him to be better one-on-one, and I think he's got I've met him in person a couple of times, and he's a big boy. I mean, everyone's bigger than me, but I just I think he's got the ability. I believe in him. He's one of my favorites, one of my podcast favorites, and I back him. I think he can get better one-on-one. He's the first to criticize himself and knows what he's got to do better. So I would say yes, but he's the ultimate sort of question mark in where he plays long term. But it depends on Darling and Teakle up forward, and also if Dawson's and Whitlocks are kicking the door down in the VFL. And I think it's more likely his positional change will be dependent on our forward line than our back line performance.
I have to admit, I was so shocked when I saw Matlock start training as a backman at the start of the year. Just like our depth in that key backstock now is actually fairly significant. Yeah. I mean, you got Logue, Core, Chom as your first 3, but then you've got Kalen, who's a very, very handy backup, and then Matlock and Will Dawson, and then our forward stock by the same token at the moment is, Darlene, Larky. Then you can probably argue Finbar would be nearly Finbar or Teakle.
That's what I was going to ask. I think Teakle has to get the first shot. I like the thought of Finbar as well, but I just don't. I don't know if I fully see it. He's never played a game. I don't think he's been a sniff for a game. And yes, he can take some marks, but I think there's probably 3 players that get the chance before him. I think Tickle kicked a goal a game last year, and I think he deserves the spot first. He's more AFL ready. His marking is up there with Amali as well. So, and he can mark at AFL level. He's taken big marks at AFL level. So I think Tickle gets the shot first. I think Pink would probably get the shot first, even though I probably would go the other way. But I'm just trying to get into Clarko's brain here. Like, I'm not saying that's what I would pick, but I'm saying, do you really think that Finbar will get a shot over Toby Pink in the forward line if we need a forward?
That is a very tough call, actually. It's a very good question, that one, I think. Clarko loves Pink. Clarko loves him some Pink. And Pink...
It's like Darcy Tucker.
Yeah. It's for all of his off-season, may I add. Pink, every time he's on the field and every time he's near the ball, he works extremely hard. He tackles extremely hard. He earned a lot of free kicks in that forward line through his tackle work. He couldn't finish them too well most of the time. No. But he was but his effort and his structure there was actually very important for us.
Yeah, and I thought he was all right in that VFL game we stayed back to watch after the
completely agree
game for the first quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably think Pink probably gets the shot ahead of him. I don't disagree with you on that.
But then Chom would go forward, I think, before they give Finbar a crack.
Yeah, I think Finbar...
Or do they throw Dawson or Whitlock forward? Because they've played Dawson up forward before.
Yeah, they did. I don't like Dawson forward. I prefer Matlock forward.
Absolutely.
Dawson, I'd love to see him just, get a bit more time and develop a bit more. But, Pink will play games this year. I'll call it. Pink will play games this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's not going to be charioted them either. I think he actually deserves it and earns it still. I'm just hoping that we get players that will surpass him on their natural abilities, though his work ethic is far harder or as hard as anyone's.
Yeah, we want the guys with the talent to be the kicking down the door, not the guys who work the hardest. Like everyone should work the same.
Work the hardest, yeah, absolutely.
We want the talented guys working hard to get into the team. Yeah. You know what I mean? So anyway, look, that's another big burning question of this year, and I really don't think Finbar is high up the list of getting a game. I don't think he plays this year personally. And to be honest, if they're playing him over Chom or Whitlock, or maybe even Tickle, I don't know if I'd be happy with it either. And I like the thought of Finbar, and I really hope he has a great VFL season and starts putting pressure on. But if you were asking me right now, I don't think he gets a game this season either. Maybe late in the season when we're done, but I just don't know if I see it over those other guys. He is undrafted, and it's not trying to be mean, but he's undrafted probably for a reason as well. So, maybe we found a gem, maybe we haven't. But at this point, I think he's in for a much better VFL year, and I think he'll impress and have some games where you're like, oh, he's kicked 5 or 6, but I'd probably want those other guys to get a shot over him first. Let's go to the delistings, which is very early for delistings.
Yeah.
But what we might do is sort of rapid fire here, and I'll just read out all the players that are out of contract in 2025 and just a yes or a no, and maybe a one sentence as to why you think they'll stay or they'll go. All right?
Fair. Sounds good.
First one on the list, Aiden Core out of contract.
Stays on for another year or two.
Yep.
I think his leadership is invaluable down the back. Whenever you see games of the preseason, he's always there barking and talking. He's going to be in a position where he's not going to ever see the fruits of the trees that he's planting, like Will Dawson, Matlock, Chom. They've all learnt a huge amount off him. Yep. And I think, they're going to be the ones that bring us forward, and it's going to be because of what Core's done. But I'd say he's going to get another year or two because of that.
Yep, completely agree. Tickle?
Ooh, getting tougher on this one now. I think he probably will earn another year contract because I think Goad's too far away, and I'm not sure if Goad would play next year. Hopefully he is knocking down the door and pushing and playing, but it'll probably be most connected to what he does. If Goad by the end of the year is knocking down the door to play best 22, Tickle will be delisted, is my gut feel.
Yep, I probably agree with that. I like Tickle. I've said this heaps on the podcast. I would give him another year regardless. I think you can't have enough key position depth, especially as a forward at North Melbourne. So I think he should, and mainly because of this next guy, Callum Coleman-Jones. I can't see him on the list, but what do you reckon?
He's gone. I'd be shocked if he gets offered another contract.
Yeah.
I really hope that, yet again, he's been really unfortunate with the injury, but then when he was in, he wasn't knocking down the door. I guess him, and you're probably right with that, him and Teakle are going to be the two that are probably actually competing for that last spot to a large extent, or that spot between the two of them, I should say.
Yeah, no, I agree. Teakle's got the bigger upside, I think, at this point.
Agreed.
I think Teakle's got a bit more to offer, personally. I've said this plenty of times, only 24 years old and showed a lot for no preseason. So I hope he gets a shot this year at some point. I'm not saying he's going to be an amazing player, but, definitely an AFL quality player on a list somewhere as a backup. So Cooper Harvey.
Big year for him, very big year for him. He was the last one to sign this year. I think he was lucky to get the signature to an extent at that time.
Agreed.
He's worked very hard this preseason. He's a very, very tough one to predict. I will have him getting delisted at the end of the year. I just don't think he needs to, he'll need to keep up the work ethic that he's had for the start of this year, and I'm not sure he'll do that.
Yep, I agree completely with that. I think he gets delisted, unfortunately. I just don't see, after all these guys in the forward line, plus Robert Hansen and now Jacob Constanti on top of Simpkin and Parker and Zerha and Dersmer and Curtis and Ford, I just don't see it. So, no, unfortunately not. Speaking of Eddie Ford.
I love to see him re-sign. Like, he's, besides the fact of, the character that he is, I think it would be like he's shown so much during games. He's had games where he's kicked good amounts of goals and really impacted the contest. The biggest struggle for him seems to be position to play at the moment. But I'll back him. I reckon he'll get into the side, and I reckon he'll play a good amount of games by the end of the year, and I reckon he'll get an extension. That's what I'm hoping for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm shocked he's not in the best 23 at this point, to be honest. I can't believe it. And not to even get a game in the extended squad is insane. He was a guy who no one was saying we should drop Eddie Ford last year by second half of the year. So don't know what's going on there. Eddie Ford was stiff to only get 1 year personally, and I think he should be on the list. Absolutely.
I think he was suffered a bit from the rise of the small forwards, as in like wanting Hansen Jr. and Constanti to obviously play in that same thing. I think he's been the victim of that.
I guess, but I wouldn't say those guys have risen at all. Those guys have not shown anywhere near. I'm not saying you were saying this, by the way, but those guys have shown nothing near. I think it's just type of player they are and trying to play a different system. But Ford is a lot like Dersmer and Zerha and Curtis and that sort of stuff. So I understand the difficulty there, but as a player, I'd take him in a heartbeat over Hansen Jr. or Constanti, to be honest. So my guy, Eddie Ford, I'm backing you, mate. He'll break his way into the team. He's too good of a player, I think. So Darcy Tucker, what do you reckon?
He'll get extended. He'll get 2 years.
Clarko
That's what
favourite.
Clarko favourite. He does things for us that he does the dirty work. He's not going to get loved by the fans for a lot of what he does. He's reliable, and he puts in Clarko, like a while ago, would say that one of the best things you can do is you can have a person that you can lock into a position and say that they can play that role, and they'll play week in, week out and do that role. And I think Tucker falls right into that.
He's our Jamie McMillan.
Yeah. I like Jamie, though.
I like Jamie McMillan. Jamie McMillan's better than Darcy Tucker. I know. But that archetype of player, like a Jamie McMillan from Wish.
Yeah, pretty much. Timu.
Timu, Jamie McMillan. Finbar, your man Finbar.
I really hope to see him extended, but I'll say he'll be extended because I can see where the improvement will come from. And it's a bit of ambition and hope, but I really hope that he gets extended because I hope that he's earned it. But he is really on the precipice this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it all depends on our forward line situation. I've got him as a bit of a question mark. I could see a world where he does get delisted if his VFL stats, if he's kicking a goal a game or so. I don't know if that's enough to stay on the list. I hope he stays around as well, and I hope he has a good year in the VFL. I think he's an exciting prospect, but even though I don't know if I see him, playing AFL this year, but I'd say maybe a 1 year deal, but I could see a world where he's delisted as well, especially if we do throw a Whitlock up forward and it works, or Chom goes back forward or something like that. Geordie Payne is a very interesting one.
Yeah, he hasn't actually made that much sound in the off-season, and considering, he is coming off a bit of an injury at the end of last year. He's an absolute mongrel when he's going for that ball. I reckon he will... I reckon he'll get an extension. I just got that feeling they'll give him another year or 2. just to sort of, or probably another year just to see how he goes. So, like, I think he'll show a lot more at the start of this year, and I think by the end of the year he'll hopefully be locked in.
Yeah, look, I'm a bit 50-50 with this one as well. I just, if we're talking like who has more of an opportunity in this side, Harvey or Payne?
Oof, probably Payne at the moment, I would say. If they're playing Hansen Jr. and Constanti, Payne's the obvious next one into that role.
And if we're pretty skeptical, we said Harvey's getting delisted, so I guess yeah. If Harvey's going to go, maybe they do keep Payne to take that spot in the reserves. I think you're right. I think they probably stick with him for another year. I think he gets a 1-year extension. Yeah. But once again, I think there is a world I can see him not be on the list next year, but I think more likely he'll get a 1-year extension. Speaking of that sort of position, it said Jacob Constanti. Is he only got a 1-year deal? I maybe thought he would have got more, but
potentially
he's out of contract this year.
Yeah. I mean, him and Geordie are probably a little bit linked, but I think he's shown enough this preseason that they would probably extend him, I'm guessing. I'm not sure he's going to yet again set the world on fire. I mean, like, the top small forwards are kicking those 40 goals plus per year. I'm not sure he'll fall into that category, but if he plays a role fairly well, I mean, we've seen, players like one of my favourites, Kane Turner, getting 100 games. I'm not sure he gets to that. So you're calling
Constanti will play 100 games for North? Is that what I'm hearing?
God, no. I reckon he'll play games this year, definitely. Like, I'd be shocked if he didn't play games this year. So he'll get a debut with us and hopefully impacts. I reckon he probably gets extended a year if he works hard enough. I think it's going to come down to, yet again, work rate for him.
Yep, I could see maybe a couple of years. I think he's more likely to get more years than Geordie Payne just because of where he was taken in the draft and clearly has a bit more potential, I think. So, yeah, I think he re-signs. 90% sure he re-signs. Goda, I mean, we don't have to talk about this one too much. I think he gets a multi-year deal. Any queries on that?
The only issue would be with injuries. I
don't think they delist if they give Braden George another year. Well, Braden George actually, maybe he's not one I've got written down here. They only gave him a 1-year extension. So
they did only give him 1-year extension. Yeah,
so he wasn't on that list I saw, but we'll put him in this next. But if Braden George gets a year, Goda absolutely has to get a year or two minimum.
I'll back Goda in, but it's probably not too dissimilar a spot to where Chom was a couple of years ago when he'd had injury after injury, and then they gave him the extension after the broken leg, I think it was, against Melbourne. And then like this year he's gone back and he's actually, shown a lot. So I'd really hope that Goda has that kind of year in the back half of this year where he's playing significant footy. But yeah, no, because you can't carry too many major injuries. Him or George, if neither of those are, best 22 or they've just been too niggled with injuries, they're going to be very interesting watches. I think they've both got the talent, may I add, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's almost a lock that Goda gets an extension for me. I think, he's probably on this list so far, the one I'd put the money on the most. I mean, Core, obviously, but I think he's more of a lock than Teakle or even Ford, even though I don't know if I agree with it, but Ford as well. So, yeah, easy one there, I think. Your boy, Callan Dawson.
He's in a very bad spot at the moment on the list, I think. And that's because, yet again, depending on if Matlock stays a backman and Will Dawson stays a backman and Chom stays a backman, Callan becomes a bit, he either has to find a new role or he has to do something different. So
who gets more games, him or Toby Pink?
Oh, that's a very tough thing. I'm going to say Pink.
In the comments below, who gets more games, Callan Dawson or Toby Pink this year?
Yep, I'm going Pink on this one because I said, Pink, you can never question anything about his intent at the ball. You can never question anything about his effort off the field, and he's improved. I genuinely think he's improved from last year I agree. What I've seen. And, I really, really hope that Pink has a good, long, successful career. But he's I think he's capped by his talent, but his effort is 1,000%.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would agree with that. I'll say Pink will play more games just because he can go forward, and we haven't seen Dawson ever do that. But if it was just playing in defence and say Pink couldn't go forward, I think it's a tough question. I'd nearly prefer just on archetype maybe playing Callan Dawson and giving him the shot
Yeah.
I think it's a tough one. I like them both. We pick on Toby Pink a bit, and the fan base is a bit of a meme in the fan base in a good way. And like we love Toby Pink, and he's a fan favorite in a funny way. But I think he could improve this year and be a good player. It wouldn't shock me if he found his way into the side and we played him for 6, 7, 8 games in a row. So that's an interesting one. I mean, LDU is out of contract. Does he sign or does he go?
I'm going to call that he signs. I'm just going to call he resigns. So, like, yeah. I don't think it's, yeah. I mean, I agree it's not the end of the world if he didn't resign, like has been said by, Clarko and that. Because I think there's the one area of the field where we can stand to lose a player is the midfield. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think he stays.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he stays as well. All right, let's rapid fire some of these. We've got 2 more segments to move on to. Miller Bergman.
He will be delisted.
I unfortunately agree. I think, but interestingly so, he played over.
He did.
He played over Hardiman in the West Coast game, which, lots of questions to ask about that, to be honest. So, look, I would say he probably is delisted, but maybe Clarkson feels otherwise. Hanson Jr., I think we can say he'll get a 1-year extension.
Yeah, I feel at the moment like he's really putting himself into a position to earn it. So I'll say yes. But if he's not playing in our best 22 by the end of the year, I'll change my opinion.
Yes. Toby Pink?
I reckon he gets an extension again.
Yeah, I originally thought maybe not, but now we're having that conversation about like Callum Dawson with him. Yeah, I think he'd get a 1-year extension as well. And his versatility and being a key position player, unless we can for some reason recruit or think we're going to be recruiting in that area. Yeah, I think Toby Pink gets another extension, and I hope he earns it and he becomes a player we can rely on if we have an injury. And the last one is Will Phillips.
Oh, that's a good one as well to actually ask about. I'm going to say he earns another contract, and he's not going to get a single. He's going to get 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he seems almost like a lock that he's round 1 and he plays a lot of centre bounces. So I can't imagine he's going to be in that position at the start of the year and then go. I think his work ethic is fantastic and clearly looks to have taken it very, very seriously this year. Let's throw out Braden George really quickly. Sorry, I forgot to talk about that one before. Is there a really cruel world where Braden George doesn't play and doesn't get an extension?
I think there is a chance of that. And it would just be unfortunate for injury because I think even in like VFL and that he's only played probably less than 10 games, everything all up.
Yeah.
He's tracking well for recovery. I think by hopefully mid-season he's playing. If he plays out a season in VFL and is doing really well in that, he'll get an extension. But I think he's an injury away from. We can't continue resourcing this.
Unfortunately so, because I really want to see this guy play, man. I want to see him at AFL level. He looks explosive, but then the Dersmers and the Zerhas, and we've talked about this position, so it's a tough one. But I do think there's a world where he probably doesn't get a contract extension, but that's not what I would personally like to see from a morality perspective, but also his talent that we know he can do. So, all right, let's go to our best 22, our 23, for round 1, and then we'll do a quick ladder prediction. So let's rattle off our teams quickly. We'll try and wrap this up in the next 10, 15 minutes. So our back 6, I think this is pretty standard, maybe except for one spot. I'd be shocked if we don't have 5 of the same 6 players. Archer, Core, Logue, Daniel, Comben, and I've put McKercher off the half back line because I just think we need him to distribute. But spoiler alert, I've put Finn O'Sullivan on the wing, and you could interchange those guys pretty easily.
Yeah, exact same. The only thing I would have is Foss off that half back line to start. But yet again, you're very correct. I could go either way on that. Like it's, obviously the 3 key tools are going to be starting for me. So Core, Logue, Chom, they're a given. Archer immediately plays round 1. Daniel's clearly taken one of the half back roles. And then I guess, Foss for me I would have there, but I can see what you'd do the other way around as well.
Yes, I mean, same. I think they could, if McKercher finds himself back and Foss forward, then he can take that. I think they can interchange during game. I think they occupy half back to half forward along that left-hand side, and I hope they combine and make a partnership we could see for years to come. But I just don't trust anyone else but Caleb Daniel kicking that ball out of the back line. Cor's got a decent foot on him, but I don't want to see him distributing out of the back line. So, any North fan that watched all the preseason games knows that we need someone else but Daniel out of that half back line. And if it's not Foss or McKercher, Fisher, you can chuck down there and give it another crack, but I'm not super confident. So anyway, we'll go to the midfielders. Across the centre line, Scott on the wing. I mean, that's just the most obvious one of all. LDU in the guts, and I put Finn O'Sullivan on the wing. And then Jerry in the ruck with Pow and Sheasel rounding out that midfield three. Do you have any different players at all?
No, the only one that I'd probably do a bit different is I'd maybe have Phillips there opposed to Sheasel to start for the first centre bounce. But that being said, you could go, I mean, that'd be a bit more... I know I could see that and seeing Sheasel coming off the half-forward flank, which was probably where I had them. So I'll have Phillips starting in that ruck rover role with Cherry. So obviously, yes, Scott, I had Phillips in the centre, and then I had, Kirch. And then the other, X, LDU, and Phillips. Oh, no, not Phillips, Powell. Sorry, Powell.
Powell, for sure. I'm assuming you've got Sheasel in your half-forward line, but I'll just name mine quickly. Yep. If Sheasel's on your bench, mate, we're going to have words. Half-forward line, Parker, Darling, and Simpkin. Full-forward line, Zerha, Larky, Curtis. I feel like, you could probably sub out Simpkin and Sheasel there, one on the bench, one not, one in the midfield. But have you got pretty similar?
Yeah, very similar. Obviously, I've got... again, the key tools, you'll go Larky and Darling immediately start. I've got Bull. Then you've got Sheasel, Simpkin, and I would start Curtis as well. Yeah, so it's a very filled up line. So
is Parker in that half forward line? Did you name 5 or 6 just then?
6. I'll get Parker off the bench.
Okay, so who was your 6? Sorry, who am I missing?
So I had Larky, Darling, and Bull.
Yep.
Then I had Sheasel, Simpkin, and Curtis.
Okay, so Parker's this way. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
My bench is Elmac, Eddie Ford, Hanson Jr. and Phillips.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Elmac, yes. Tucker, because I just think he'll play round one.
That's the one big change I've sort of made is if we're playing McKercher O'Sullivan off half-back, and you'll see when it comes to my sub, I think... And I've sort of gone what I think Clarkson will do with a mix of what I would do for some obvious ones. I just am baffled Eddie Ford isn't going to be in this team round one. I really think it's a very questionable call that I think as fans we should get an answer to because it is what it is. So I don't have Constanti in my team, but McDonald, Ford, Hanson Jr. and Phillips for my bench.
Yeah, so obviously McDonald, Tucker, Phillips, and what was the last one that I had?
You said you put Phillips in the midfield, didn't you?
No, I had Powell there, sorry.
Oh, it's Powell, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So, Phillips there and then Parker, obviously off the bench. That was it. And then sub, I have Hanson Jr. currently.
Sub, I've got Zach Fisher.
Oh, that's also a good call as well.
Yeah, sub, I've got Zach Fisher. I don't know how much he's played and he hasn't really played at all, and I don't know what his level of fitness is, but I could see that not being correct. If you want more realistic answers, I mean, take out Fisher and Ford and put in Tucker and Constanti. I just, I know Constanti tackles and stuff, but I'm not a fan of those Kane Turner types. So, I don't know if I see it. If we're going to play, I don't think you can play Hanson Jr. and Constanti. I just don't think they're
agreed.
A threat enough for goal, and I think we won't score enough. And you'd rather a player like Eddie Ford who can pop up and kick 3 in a game. Zach Fisher, maybe a little bit of cover for that half-back role if someone's not working out. I think, and just a bit of experience who we know can play at the level. So realistically, I would like to see, obviously Wardlaw and Dersma in that team, but Wardlaw with injury and Dersma with injury plus, form/work ethic. And Goda, we'll wait to see. But that's my 23 for the round. Pretty similar. I think most fans have pretty similar.
Yeah. It's very tough. It's very interesting because the ones that I'm really struggling with now is because obviously with the back line, the way that I've worked it as well, and I think everyone is, Tucker Tucker can play across wing, I guess, as well as the halfback role. Almac's really tough to fit in because obviously, there's, it's just going to be who's coming off that halfback. I think Foss is coming on so well as sort of putting more pressure on. I mean, Almac's going to play round one. I'd be Shocked if he didn't. But then Tucker and Elmac, I think we're starting to get the talent to push them out, which is what you really want to be seeing. Like last year, there wouldn't have been question marks about where you would put those guys on the field. And now it's, we're starting to have to make hard choices, which is really good to see. Like Ford is a really hard choice because I really love his game, but him not being in the best 22 and, you've got, I don't know how to fit in Hansen Jr. and Constanti that well. And I'm not sure where they go. I mean, it's going to be an exciting season. There's a lot of talent there. I think this is the most talented side we've had in a while, which is the exciting part coming into it, obviously. What's your feel?
I mean, look, a low bar on that talent, but it is the most exciting team we've had for a long time because we've been atrocious for 5 years. So I would sure hope so, mate. Otherwise, we're in for a garbage year. All right, let's round this pod out and we'll spend 10 minutes max on this. Our ladder prediction. So do you want to hit me with your top four?
Oh, gosh, I didn't know we were doing the top four here. Give me a tick.
Oh, okay. I did my whole ladder.
Oh, cool.
I can give you mine quickly if you want to. I want to brainstorm this quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the top four, I have Geelong and GWS in the top two. I think they're almost in a league of their own. I don't know the final result of the Collingwood and GWS game. I might look that up now because I don't know. But I've put Collingwood third.
I think
and Brisbane
GWS
fourth.
was winning.
They were winning. Let me just check this the score here. It looks like the Giants have won. Oh, an app error. Fantastic, AFL.com.
How much
Giants
did they win
make
by?
light work of misfiring pies in statement win. 52 points they won by. Oh, my God. Well, maybe I've got the pies too high now. Oh, all right. This is my ladder as of before the Collingwood GWS game. Geelong and GWS in the top two. I think that's a lock for those guys, top two. I don't see anyone else who can really challenge for that. I've got Collingwood and Brisbane to round out the top four. I've put Sydney, Hawthorn, Carlton and Fremantle as the next, in that order, as the next four to round out the top eight. Sydney didn't impress me that much. I know I should lock these in before round one, but opening round, which is rubbish. But hey, it is what it is. So Carlton, look, they always underperform. We all want to believe, but their one change they made to their list is now out for the season. So I just don't see how they improve much. I know they'll be more healthy, but they had plenty of games where they were healthy enough to beat teams that they didn't. So, I think I put Carlton seventh and Fremantle. Didn't even make the finals last year. I don't see the top four thing. I think that's a bit crazy. I think they need to prove it first. So Freo rounding out the top eight. Have you got your top eight together or do you want me to go for the next 10?
I could say a top eight at the moment. I think after watching the first game for me, I think, and it's going to be obviously a bit more recency bias, Hawthorn looks very primed. They were very skillful, looking very sharp. I'm going to have them top four. I've got Brisbane going backing it up top four. I would have, I think Hawthorn's probably the one for me, but GWS I think is always a very good shout in that space. And there's always one that comes out from outside the top eight, which I think was GWS. So let's say...
No Geelong in the top four? Wow.
No, I don't rate them that highly.
That's crazy. I think they're a lock.
I think I could see them missing.
I don't like it, but...
I could see them missing.
Wow. Okay.
It's just I mean, they've got a good list, but I think the other lists around them are their midfield isn't that being said, I wasn't that high on Hawthorn last year, so see how that worked out for me.
But they're just always there, mate. You know what I mean? I don't, on paper, I'm just kind of like, they're okay, but they're always there. And I hate it so much. And I respect it and I hate it. So, okay, no, that's fine. So, so next four.
Let me just get this up. So next four, what would I have? Let's put Geelong there, Port Adelaide there, Fremantle there, and then probably
I'm excited for this. The Carlton fans are going to be waiting on your answer right now.
I don't rate Carlton that high. Oh, Carlton's too many injuries. Doggies, no. Gold Coast, let's give it to them.
Oh, yuck. I hate that.
They've got enough talent. If they don't make it this year,
they've had enough talent for 12 years, mate, and it hasn't even been a sniff of the finals.
Hasn't even been a sniff.
Fed top 10 picks for 12 years.
Oh, gosh, yeah. No, I'll have them. I reckon this is their year.
All right. I reckon Gold Coast is locked to 13th for the rest of their existence.
Their best winning season is 11, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the coach doesn't want to be there, mate. He wants to be there for the money. And, what is he, a middle-aged, recently divorced, three-time premiership winner who wants to go and live on the Goldie to get a tan and hit on meter maids? Like, he doesn't want to be there, man. No one goes to the Gold Coast to win. Look at every Gold Coast franchise ever in Australian sports. So I just don't believe in them. I couldn't care less about their talent. I saw a video of their first ever draft haul, and they had like 10 of the top 20 players in 2012, and they didn't do a single thing with it, mate. So I just don't believe. Until they do it, don't believe. All right, my next 10, we'll go until the bottom 4. So I've got, in ninth, I've got Port Adelaide. Then I've got the Western Bulldogs. I've got Melbourne. I've got Essendon. I've got the Gold Coast. And then I've got Adelaide.
Oh, good one. I've got Adelaide probably 9. Carlton 10.
Carlton 10th. Even I think that's wild, and I'm a Carlton hater.
Collingwood 11.
Wow. Yeah, you didn't even mention the Pies. Wow.
North 12.
Oh.
I haven't said Doggies. Doggies 13.
Wow.
Oh, no, Sydney 13. Doggies 14.
Oh, we haven't even said Sydney. That's wild.
Yeah,
your ladder is crazy, man.
No, I'm looking at it. I'm just like, Carlton has a lot of injuries coming into this year. I
can understand the Carlton one, but the Pies and the the Swans, I think is crazy.
Yeah, Swans I could probably sneak into that top 8. I'll be honest, but I think. But that being said, yeah, Pies Sydney I could easily. Pies, I don't know. I don't think they've improved that much from last year.
Okay. I like their signings. I like all 3 guys they brought in. But no, that's fair. It's your opinion. Okay, bottom 4. I've got North at the top of the bottom 4. I think we could win 6 to 8 games and still be bottom 4, to be honest. So I personally don't really care where we finish this year, as long as it's not last and as long as we win 6 games. I think honestly, there's a world where we finish 17th and win 6 games. So, but I'll be a little bit of a North stan, and I'll put us 15th, St Kilda 16, West Coast 17, and of course the Wooden Spoon Tigers in 18.
That's not a bad call on it. Who would I have? I have Essendon at 15, St Kilda at 16. Oh no, West Coast at 16, St Kilda at 17, Richmond at 18.
St Kilda's second last.
I just don't rate their list.
Neither do I, but I just think they're better than that, But they're always in the middle. Okay, no, look, fair enough. All right, I'm going to read out my ladder top to bottom one more time for the people at home, and I'll get you to do the same, and then we're going to finish this up because I've got more podcasting to do.
Oh, gosh. I don't think I'll remember my ladder.
You do off the top of your head. Okay, don't worry about it. Well, look, my ladder, Cats number 1. I just don't think they lose a game at GMHBA. Giants 2. I'm going to take back my Pies thing a little bit. Maybe I'll put Collingwood. Oh, okay. I'm going to lock my ladder in before round 1. But right now, I went Geelong, Giants, Pies, Lions, Swans, Hawks, Blues, Dockers as the top 8. Power, Dogs, D's, Bombers, Suns, Crows, North, Saints, Eagles, and then Richmond at the bottom.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, no, I think... No, I'm just like looking at it. It's like there's some sides there. I think, yeah, it's a good call. I think I've got a feeling for Gold Coast this year. I reckon they're going to move up a bit. That's probably the only one. And yeah, Saints and Essendon. We'll finish above Essendon is my feel. That's my big one.
I think, and look, I don't like to say this, but I'm going to be honest and take my North hat off. I think Essendon are a bit underrated, to be honest. I think they're better than a bottom 6 list. I think Caddy and Kako are exciting. I know they've only had that one game, but they're not. I think we make them. We have a perception that they're worse than they are because of their awful and laughable finals run or lack of success. But realistically, they're like a mid-table team. They're not like a bottom team. So I think people are going a bit harsh on Essendon. I love it because I don't like Essendon, but realistically, it's I don't think they're going to be down in the bottom 4 or anything.
I think they've got a very big range of where they could finish. They could finish anywhere from like 8th to bottom 4, and I could see them being bottom 4. I mean, I think they're still lacking that absolute top end talent. But that's the same with St Kilda. St Kilda would actually, I think, benefit from having a bad year this year, because that's why they're going so hard at everyone, because they know they don't have that star to get them over the line. Like
Yeah.
Who's their best midfielder? Steele?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
who
I
else
mean,
have they got?
Philippou, they're going to hope. Yeah,
Philippou.
Philippou, they're going to hope has a big year, but I don't think they've got. I mean, that's well advertised. They don't have a great start, but we'll finish above a few of these sides. Don't you worry, Josh.
I am incredibly worried, mate. I'm not super confident at all, to be honest. I'm at a believe it when I see it basis with North Melbourne,
Which is very fair.
And is incredibly fair. I love the club and I want nothing more. And I think we've got the potential to be a problem in 3 to 5 years, but I still maybe lack seeing that we're going to jump much this year. I think it's more next year or the year after. But I hope I'm wrong, and I'll be there with all the fans celebrating when your expectation is correct and my awful football opinions are completely wrong. So I honestly think we could finish 17th, mate. But I don't see a world where I see a world, but I really hope we can win at least 6 to 8 games. But I see a world where we could win 6 to 8 games and be 16th or 17th, because all those sides, bar Richmond, I think have the potential to do that. And we haven't shown in the last 5 years that we're any better than any of those sides. Our talent's better than West Coast and St Kilda. And I think Adelaide are the most overrated team ever. Like, they're always in top 8 debate and they always finish, they never get in. So like the Gold Coast. So, I just don't see it. I see us being better than them in 3 to 5 years, but I don't know how I feel about the jump now. But look, anyway, enough about that. We have to finish up the podcast. We'll leave it here. Thank you for coming on again, mate. For all the fans listening, any queries or anything like that, any predictions you think are wrong, you want to correct us on, or say we were right, because sometimes good comments are nice as well. Please put them down below. And if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, please subscribe. And we do great stuff around here. So don't worry. We've got you all covered. Joel face reveal is coming in 2025 at some point. Did you see the comments on the last episode we did?
Yes.
On the live show, someone goes sneaky face reveal and put the timestamp there.
Yes, there was a sneaky Joel face reveal at the live show. It was a great day out for those who didn't go. Just make sure that next year when it's running that you hop along. It's well worth the effort and well worth the time.
Thank you for the sneaky plug, mate. Look, I'll let you go. Thank you very much, and we'll chat to you very soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Josh.